Welcome to our channel. Welcome to UPSC and Groups Prep with Shrija. In this video, we are going to discuss about agriculture optional. First of all, I'll introduce myself. This is Shrija speaking to you, and I have done my graduation from Professor Jaishankar Telangana State Agriculture University. I have appeared for the UPSC examination also. So, I think so I'm eligible enough to speak about the optional subject of agriculture. So, the questions also will be asked of a degree level in the UPSC mains optional subject. So yeah, I think so I'm eligible enough. So I'll just explain the things which I think it's important to know about the agriculture optional subject. So first of all, let's see that why the agriculture optional is very important and what is its significance and what is the advantage of taking the agriculture optional subject. See, when you take the social science or something subject which related to social sciences, you will have different perspectives. See, when I say that, when I ask you about patriarchy, you will have a different perspective or different experience. So, one person may have different experience with the thing of patriarchy, so he may have that positive analysis of patriarchy. Or some other person will be having other aspect of the patriarchy when he was negatively affected, or when he or she was negatively affected with the patriarchal system or patriarchy, she or he will be having some other aspect or analysis of that. So when you're writing generally the answer, you will have the thought process of what you got in your experiences. With your experiences, these experiences will definitely influence on the thought process while writing the answer. But when you come to the science subjects like this, agriculture or basic science, when you come to botany or zoology or agriculture is an applied science actually. So when you come to these subjects mostly the answer will be same. Like, we are not the scientist, we didn't do any experiments. So likewise, what we read in the books, we will definitely try to inculcate or keep in the answer format. Likewise, if I ask you about DNA, you'll definitely say that what is the structure of DNA. If I ask you, you'll say that it's a double helix or double helical structure. You'll say. Likewise, if you ask to a person in North India or South India, or even you just go to Northeast or go to Guwahati, just go to other person wherever in India, if you ask what is DNA, he will say the same thing. Either the structure is double helix, or if you ask about the gene, or if you ask about a chromosome, whatever the like, if you ask about Gregor Mendel's principles, law of independent assortment, law of segregation, likewise, if you ask anyone, they will definitely be saying the same answer, because we can't generate our answers on our thought process in these science subjects. So when you are writing the answer in the science subjects, it won't create any gap between the examiner who is correcting or evaluating the paper and you as a student. When you are writing the paper also, you will be having the same thought process. And also the books or research books will be same across India, or whatever the resource or source you take, mostly it will be same. That's why the answer matches to the examiner. So you won't divert or deviate from the answer to some other else because of your thought process also. Because whatever you read, you will just write it. You are not a scientist or you are not a research person to write something else. What you had done, you will just read the book. What is the theories given by Gregor Mendel or Pavlov's concept of centers of origin. Likewise, many concepts you will just read and you will just interpret, or you will just give in the answer format. So there will be not much gap between the examiner and you, so that there is a high chances of getting good score in this agriculture optional or science subjects. And next, I want to say that if you are practicing voracious, like if you are practicing good, and if you are having the basic concepts good, and if you are perfect with the little bit current affairs also, you will easily cross 300 plus. And 250 plus is very easy, but 300 plus is a thing that it needs little bit efforts of practice, and then just adding little bit current affairs in your answers, data facts, likewise. So this is about the importance of agriculture optional. And likewise, I can also say that there is a lot of convergence with the GS subject. See, if you check that, I think so in the year 2019, there are almost 5 to 6 questions which are direct, which are appeared in the prelims paper of UPSC 2019. Yeah, year was 2019. Likewise, in that year, they asked about green revolution. Likewise, they asked many things, zero tillage. So, when the year comes where the questions are more from the agriculture subject, which according to GS syllabus of prelims, it comes under geography part. So, when you get likewise many questions in the GS part of UPSC prelims, you will be on an advantageous side. You know that 0.5 and 1 mark is also very important for the prelims paper of UPSC. So, you will be on the advantageous side when the questions came more from the agriculture background, because already you have studied an optional subject, and also when you are writing the prelims paper also, if there is agriculture questions like 2019, there will be lot of chances you will be gaining good marks in the prelims paper also. So, likewise 2019 was a big year that after that year, I think so, there is a lot of market, like there is a lot of teaching institutes also for agriculture for prelims itself also. And also every year you can see that 1 or 2 questions are being asked in the prelims paper from agriculture, because it converges with geography, economy of GS syllabus, and also little bit environment also. Likewise, it is having many advantages. And when you come to mains papers also, 2019 was the year that there is a question of allelopathy. It's a question which is completely known by the technical background of agriculture. Most of the people will not be knowing the question, because the term is different, which is only seen by the agriculture or biology related people. So, it's actually bouncer for all the other people, but it's a big plus point for people like us. It can at least give 6 to 7 marks for us, because it's a 10 marker. So then, likewise, we are having advantages when we are facing the bouncer questions also. Likewise, it will be a bouncer for everyone, but it will not be for bouncer for us, and we'll be writing the answer. Likewise, we can get good marks also. So, likewise, in prelims also, in mains also, we'll be having this bonus or edge effect. Like we are having some edge to get good marks when the examiner is mostly focused on the agriculture part in that year, whether it may be prelims or mains. Likewise, there is a lot of significance for agriculture subject when it comes to the prelims and main subjects of GS papers. And then let's see how to prepare agriculture optional. See, agriculture optional, first I'll discuss how to prepare. See, you have to be very clean and clear. You have to have a clear basic understanding of basic concepts. See, if I say that erosion, you have to know what is erosion. Or if I say that physical properties of soil, so you have to know basic things. What is soil, what is drainage, what is erosion, likewise, what are the types of erosion, likewise, basic concepts, drainage, water logging. So these are the basic concepts. You have to be thorough with that, so that you will understand the subject more. And also you can write on your own also the answers. And then analyze the PYQs. See, in every video I am also uttering that PYQs are very, very important. Previous year questions. In our examination of agriculture optional also, PYQs will be very, very important. And if you just observe the PYQs, definitely you can score 250 to 270 marks by just analyzing the previous year questions itself. So, PYQs are very, very important, and you can just cover 80 to 90% of the syllabus and 80 to 90% of the questions of the question paper just through the PYQs. So, just get the frameworks and get the answers ready-made for before the examination itself for the PYQs, previous year questions itself. And then important areas. See, important areas means you have to identify which are very repetitive in the PYQs or previous year questions. For example, denitrification is very, very important. As in PYQs, it will be asked n number of times. I will also be showing the things which are very repeated previously, so that you will be understanding what are the important areas in the syllabus of the agriculture optional also. Like us, we should identify the important areas. And then prepare answers. I already said that the answers should be ready-made before the exam itself, because you have to write very quick in the mains examination. So, you should be ready with the answers also, framework or just skeleton structure also. You should be preparing before the exam itself. And then revision. Revision is very important to just cross the to cross 300 plus marks, because without revising we can't recollect the things so fast or so easily. And then practice writing, as you know, for the mains examination, the main constraint is time. So without practicing, we can't write the answers in that particular time or limited time. And then this agriculture syllabus is very static. Current affairs is just 1 or 2 questions, mostly 1, that's it, 1 or 2, that's it. Mostly the questions completely will be of a static only. The syllabus which is given by the CSC mains or CSC board itself, they will be asking from there only. So it will be mostly static. And then common optional for IFOS exam also. It's the benefit of the preparing of agriculture optional. See, when you are preparing for agriculture optional for CSC mains, the people who are writing for both CSC mains and forestry exam also, this when you take this agriculture optional, it is very beneficial, because the syllabus will be almost same, almost I think just 2 or 3 lines will be different. I'll be showing those also which are mentioned in a forestry but which are not there in agriculture also. I'll be just showing you. So it's a common optional for both the Indian forestry syllabus and also Indian like civil services, like CSC mains examination also. And yeah, this duration is 5 months course, but you can just complete. I'm saying this is about class actually. This is class we need 5 months to complete the course. It takes almost 125 hours. No, 125 sessions of classes. It takes 250 hours. But if you sit properly daily for 8 hours, you can just complete the syllabus, whole syllabus in just 3 months. This is about how to prepare for agriculture optional. And next, let's see what are the subject present in paper 1. See, paper 1, it's carrying about almost 6 subjects, 6 subtopics or sub-subjects where we'll be dealing with soil science, agronomy, weed science, agriculture economics, agriculture extension, agroecology. In depth, I'll also be discussing about these subjects also. This is the paper 2. This is about paper 2. Here we'll be seeing about 9 subtopics or 9 sub-subjects. That is genetics. One is genetics. This is the basic science. And then plant breeding, very, very important for us, because agriculture is completely related to this only. For a good crop production only, we'll be doing this plant breeding, and it's very important subject in paper 2 also. And then plant physiology, and then biotechnology, pathology, seed science, entomology, horticulture, and then miscellaneous. Miscellaneous means which are being in current affairs. Nowadays, this relevance is very, very increasing nowadays. The weightage is also increasing for miscellaneous. I'll also discuss the weightage of each subtopic or sub-subject also. See, first of all, we'll be seeing about the paper 1, the subject which is very, very important. First one is agronomy. Agronomy, the marks carries about 100 to 120 marks. We have to see the weightage, because reading everything is not possible in a limited time. So we have to see the weightage. According to weightage, we have to go with give the preferences to the subject. So in paper 1, agronomy, I'm not saying it's accurately 100 or 120 marks. It will be around 100 to 120 marks every year, most of the times. So paper 1, agronomy carries about 100 to 120 marks here. So let's discuss about the syllabus of agronomy. See, I can't discuss in one video everything about subject in just one video. So I'll try to explain the important crux things about the sentences which are being repeatedly asked in the previous year questions. Every year there will be definitely one, or next year they will be appearing in the examination, and which are present both in the syllabus and also previous year questions. In previous years also, it had been asked many times. Likewise, which are very, very important and which are being asked in the PYQs, those sentences which are very, very important from the syllabus lens, I'll be discussing about those things in this video. Okay, na? So first one is agronomy syllabus. We are seeing, I said that weightage is also around 100 to 120 marks. So likewise, the syllabus, I'll just read the syllabus and I'll explain you. Cropping patterns in different agroclimatic zones of the country. First sentence is this. So likewise, agroclimatic zones. Agroclimatic zones is nothing but it's where the climatic patterns and length of growing period will be same. That is known as agroclimatic zone, which is the definition which is given by Food and Agriculture Organization, FAO. And there are 15 agroclimatic zones which are classified by the Planning Commission. We'll be saying about Western Himalayan regions, Eastern Himalayan regions, like Transgangetic plains, Western dry region, Gujarat hills. Likewise, we'll be seeing 15 agroclimatic zones which are being classified by the Planning Commission. So that is about agroclimatic zones, which is very, very important, asked in many times in the previous year questions. Then impact of high yielding and short duration varieties on shifts in cropping patterns. It is nothing but about a green revolution. They said that it is about nothing but green revolution. And then concepts of various cropping and farming systems, concepts of multiple cropping. You know that multiple cropping is nothing but growing of one or two or more crops on the same piece of land is nothing but multiple cropping. And then multi-story relay and intercropping and their importance and in relation to food production. See, focus on the red zones. I just mentioned in the red zones and the PPT slides so that you will be focusing more on those things. These are the things, these red zones are the things which are being asked in the PVQs multiple times. So, and then important features and scope of various types of forestry plantations such as social forestry, agroforestry. See, social forestry is nothing but the forestry which is maintained outside the conventional forest area. Like we will be seeing about community woodlots, extension forestry. Likewise, all these things come under the social forestry. And then we will be seeing about agroforestry, which is also important. See, agroforestry means it's a mixture or deliberate, there will be a deliberate intention to mix the both ecological and economical interaction of both agricultural crops and then forestry trees also. Likewise, we will be seeing about agri-silviculture, aquaforestry. Here there will be a mixture of the ecosystems. Like if we go for aquaforestry, there will be growing the both fisheries plus also forestries. Likewise, if we go for agroforestry also, agriculture crops plus forestries. And we will be seeing agri-silviculture. Likewise, many types of agroforestry systems for the to be benefited from both the economical and ecological interaction of these two ecosystems. That is about agroforestry. And then a natural forest, propagation of forest plants, forest products, agroforestry and value addition, conservation of forest flora and fauna. So, next one is about the red zone is dry land agriculture. See, dry land agriculture is agriculture where it is completely dependent on the rainfall. It is a rain fed and there is a classification based on the rainfall also. Based on the rainfall received also, there is a classification of dry land agriculture. Like as we will be seeing about dry farming, dry land farming, rain fed farming. These three types we will be seeing in the dry land agriculture. And then and its problems, technology for stabilizing agriculture production in rain fed areas. And then rainwater harvesting. See, rainwater harvesting is nothing but collection and storage of rainwater in the surface or subsurface aquifers before there is a surface runoff of the water. Collection or storage is nothing but rainwater harvesting. And then if we go to the urban areas, there is a types also. In urban areas, we will be seeing rooftop rainwater harvesting. When we go to the rural areas, we will be seeing that in situ type of conservation of this rainwater. And then integrated watershed management. See, in integrated watershed management, we will be seeing the diagrams also. See, likewise, it looks like leaf like actually. So, it's integrated watershed management is nothing but on a geographical area when the water is flowing across the land or across the surface, it just be drained into a particular storage place, whether it may be streams, lakes, oceans. All those things are known as nothing but integrated watershed management. See, likewise, if we see that water body is flowing here, it just converges here. Again, here another body converges. Again, it is flowing into drained into one particular flow. That is nothing but integrated watershed management. We will be seeing in depth in certain classes also. And then water use efficiency in relation to crop production, criteria for scheduling irrigations, ways and means of reducing runoff losses of irrigation water, drip and sprinkler irrigation, drainage of waterlogged, quality of irrigation water. And then organic farming. Yeah, it's a very, very important organic farming. It's for a healthier societies. Organic farming is nothing but it's an exclusion of off-farm synthetic inputs and mainly inclusion of agronomical, biological and soil biogeos chemicals will be activated, and it will be enhanced for the enhancement or enrichment of the ecosystem also. It is nothing but organic farming, and also there will be off-farm synthetic inputs like other fertilizers or whatever the man-made things which will be applied. It will be reduced, or it will be it won't be up like the people who are doing organic farming, they just won't apply all these things also. That is about organic farming. And then precision farming. Precision farming is nothing but site-specific farming or crop-specific site management also. We'll be saying that about precision farming. In precision farming, we will be using this all techniques like GIS, GPS, VRT, yield monitoring to just observe the crop. Like we can say that there will be an observation, measurement or measuring and then monitoring and then responding to inter and intra variability of crops. All these things are dealt in precision farming. And then package of practices for production of important cereals, pulses, oilseeds, fibers, sugar, commercial and fodder crops. See, these questions up to 2009, it has been asked most of the times. In paper 1, it almost carried 60 marks. In paper 1, they used to give one question itself directly. Here we have to, nowadays these questions are not much asked. But in these questions, like package of practices question, we have to write what is the seed rate, what is the yield, what is the fertilizer recommendation, what is the pesticide recommendation, and what are the disease management techniques. Likewise, we have to write everything related to crop, spacing. Likewise, everything we have to write in the answer when they ask about package of practices. And then tillage, conventional and conservational tillage. Actually, this is mentioned in forestry syllabus, but the question is being asked in CSE mains examination of agriculture optional also. That's why I mentioned here. Tillage is a mechanical manipulation of the soil, so it's also important one. And then next second subject is agriculture extension. So it carries around 50 marks. Around 50 marks the subject is carrying in the paper 1. So agriculture extension is, to be frank, it's not a subject. It's about learning how the extension people work between the universities or research centers and between the people. The extension workers act as a bridge between those two people, and it's a thing that they just extend. Extension is nothing but extend the scientific knowledge from research institute or agriculture universities to the farming community or rural communities for a good crop production and cultivation practices. Also to get higher profits also. Like I said, we'll be saying different types of advanced tools, advanced methods of cultivation, so it will get good yield. So they'll try to make the farmer to adapt these techniques which are being developed from universities or research scientists or like scientist people. Likewise, so this is about agriculture extension. They act as bridge between the farmers and also scientists. This is scientists or universities where the research is going completely on the agriculture is on one side and farming community is on the another side. So to bridge this gap and also to transform and to extend this research or technology from scientists or universities to the farming people. This is the main core significance of agriculture extension and extension workers. So let's see the syllabus. See, agriculture extension, I said its importance and scope already and role. And then Krishi Vignana Kendras. See, KVKs. See, KVK, it revolutionized actually. See, it has been mainly recommended by the Education Commission. Yeah, Education Commission, and then Mohan Singh Mehta Committee recommendation on its recommendations by ICAR. You know that, Indian Council of Agriculture Research. This KVK was first established in Pondicherry in 1974. Later on, it got a big success. Then it was then just the government has set up the branches and then just spreaded whole KVKs in whole India. I think so 600 plus KVKs are there right now. 600 or 700 plus KVKs are there right now present in India. So, and the KVK's main aim is that to give good crop production and high yields to the farmers, and also to uplift the weaker sections of the societies or weaker sections of the people in rural areas and in other regions also. That is about KVK. And then non-governmental organizations, see NGOs. NGOs is a thing that they just work to prevent the suffering of weaker sections of the society and to uplift the people also. We can also say that it's a non-profit for organization also. Like as you'll be seeing in agriculture, NERD, non-conventional energy and rural development for empowering women, and DHAN. Likewise, we'll be seeing many NGOs in the agriculture. And then self-help group. See, self-help groups is a voluntary group where people, I mean women or mostly people come and then they just take amounts on a group basis and they just start micro enterprises like whether it's leaf plate making or pickle, they just keep the pickles or mango pickles. Likewise, they'll be manufacturing the pickles and then they'll be going for this leaf plate making also, agarbatti making. All this comes under micro enterprises. So they'll be doing this in the rural people, mainly going for self-help group, and they'll be doing these micro enterprises. And due to this, they got their living standard also increased. Due to this, all these things, living standard also will be increased, and they'll be also running these micro enterprises. This is about self-help groups which are being run in many of the rural areas. And then this is out of syllabus, but actually questions are mostly asked. That is program planning, communication methods, individual group method, frontline demonstration, ATMA, ATMA, NATP, broad-based education. These things we'll be discussing in the class because these are the demonstrations which are shown to the farmers in this extinction subject. So, and then soil science. See, next one is soil science. See, study of soil is nothing but pedology, and it carries around 60 marks. So, 60 marks is also a good marks which you have to concentrate. And so, in the soil science also, you'll be seeing, we know that soil is very important. Without soil, we can't grow the plants also. So, in soil science, we'll be seeing about soil physical properties is very, very important. In soil physical properties, we'll be seeing the soil texture, structure, density, porosity, color of the soil. Likewise, we'll be seeing many things, soil, water, all this comes under soil physical properties. And then factors of soil formation. In factors of soil formation, it's a formula, it is given by the Jenny, that CLORPT. CLORPT. So, climate and organisms are active factors, and then relief, parent material and time period. Relief is nothing but slope, and then parent material, and then time period. These three are passive factors. Climate, organisms are active factors, and then these are passive factors. So, likewise, the factors of soil formation means we'll be discussing about that CLORPT, which is given by Jenny. And then soils of India, we'll be seeing about laterite soil, red soil, black soil. Likewise, we'll be seeing different types of soils which are present in India, like desert soils also. And then essential plant nutrients and other beneficial elements in soils and plants, micro and macronutrients. According to the quantity required to the plants, the nutrients has been classified into micro and macronutrients. When it comes to macronutrients, we'll be seeing about calcium, magnesium, NPK, nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium. And then when it comes to the micronutrients, we'll be seeing that we'll be studying about zinc, copper, or nutrients which are required in lesser quantities. Those are the things about micro and macronutrients. And next thing is about nitrogen fixation in soils. See, fixing of atmospheric nitrogen means conversion of atmospheric nitrogen to the plant available forms is nothing but nitrogen fixation. And we'll be seeing symbiosis method and non-symbiosis method. In symbiosis method, we'll be seeing legume rhizobium symbiosis or interaction. And we'll be seeing about non-symbiosis also in this method, in this nitrogen fixation. And then efficient phosphorus usage. Efficient phosphorus usage means we'll be using the biofertilizers like penicillium species, we'll be using crop rotation, all those things comes under phosphorus usage. And then potassium usage. Potassium usage means we'll be seeing that split application has been used. Split application of the potassium had been used, and also application of green manure, organic manures, all this comes under efficient potassium usage. Next is soil testing. See, with the testing only we will understand what the crop is suffering from, or what the soil is suffering from. What it lacks we will be understanding by just doing the soil testing. If the soil is lacking from nitrogen, we will be applying 280 K. If there is a low quantity of nitrogen, we will get the value as less than 280 kilo per hectare. And when it is in the medium quantity, we will be seeing that it is of 280 to 560 kilo per hectare. And when it is in higher quantities, it will be greater than 560 kilo per hectare. Likewise, we will be seeing the nutrients or essential elements which are lacking and in what amount. For example, I said nitrogen. In nitrogen, if it is in the low amounts, we had to add urea more. Likewise, we will be understanding by doing the soil testing, and we will be having likewise ranges also. What is the range I said in for nitrogen? There will be different ranges for different elements also. So likewise, we will be seeing about soil testing parameters and the nutrients deficient or toxicity also. And then integrated nutrient management. Integrated nutrient management means application of organic manures, green manures, all this comes under integrated nutrient management. So biofertilizers. See, biofertilizers means using of living microbes, live microbes to enhance the soil fertility. Like we'll be seeing azolla, blue-green algae, all this comes under biofertilizers. And then problem soils. See, problem soils means whether it may be physical or chemical or biological. There will be several reasons. Biological. See, physical means there will be subsoil hard pans will be created. In physical means subsoil hard pans and other things also, other types also will be present. In chemical means we will be seeing that salt affected soils or sodic affected soils. Likewise, different soils we will be seeing. So, in the reclamation means we will be doing the soil scraping, and also we will be having equipments also to remove the subsurface hard pans also. And then soil erosion. Yeah, soil erosion means erosion will be in the two forms, whether it may be wind erosion or water erosion. Nothing but removal of top layer of the soil. And its management means we will be seeing different types of management. Like we will be seeing agroecological measures, agronomic measures. Agronomic measures means we will be seeing that use of mulching, use of crop rotation. Likewise, all comes under agronomic measures. When it comes to mechanical measures, mechanical measures means we will be doing this terrace, bunds, we will be making bunds or terrace farming. All this comes under management from mechanical measures. And then other forms of management measures also will be taken, like agroecological. Agroecological means a mixture of these legumes and grasses. Yeah, grasses and legumes will be mixed, or grasses and this cyanode and dactylon also will be mixed. These crops will be mixed so that the soil erosion will be reduced. These are the management measures. And then next it is about weed science. Weed science, it carries about 20 to 25 marks. Actually, in paper 1, it is very easy. The weed science paper is a little bit, weed science syllabus is also a little bit easy. You can just read in 2 or 3 days and you can get good mark also, like 20 to 25 marks. It will be coming. And then, so weeds means, first of all, I need to discuss what is weeds. So, weed science is nothing but it discusses about the unwanted plants which are grown and which are competing with the main crop for resources, like whether it may be water resources, whether it is maybe solar or sun rays, So likewise, if like fertilizers, so these are the undeserved or unwanted plants in the main field, which will be competing with the main crop for the solar or water or fertilizer, other sources. That is about weeds. So we'll be seeing the syllabus. So it's dissemination. Dissemination means it is spread by both biotic factors and abiotic factors. Biotic factors means humans, animals. Animals will be eating these weeds also sometimes, and it just excretes somewhere else. Then the weed will be spread to the other crop area also. Likewise, humans also, without knowingly or unknowingly, they just touch the weed plants and they just spread. And abiotic factors means will be spread to machines and wind, water. Likewise, also the weed seeds will be spreaded. And then cultural, biological and chemical control of weeds. See, cultural control of weeds means nothing but going for crop rotation, because one weed which is very adapted to one of the crop, it won't survive with the another crop. That's why we'll be going for crop rotation in cultural methods of weeds. And also biological method of weed control means, likewise, if we see that lantana camera is a weed, it's a dangerous weed. So for that we'll be using Crocidosema lanthana. So with that, the weed will be eradicated or prevented. That is about biological control of weed. We'll be using live microbes or live living organisms, whether it may be snails or herbivorous fish. Like this, something which is eating the weed will be using. That is nothing but biological control of weed. And then chemical control of weeds means we'll be using this herbicides. Herbicides means you know that pendimethalin, glyphosate, all this comes under chemical control of the weeds. And the next one is agriculture economics. Agriculture economics, it carries around 40 marks. See, economies of the scale is very, very important. So farmers do farming, but mainly for the yield and also mainly for the good profit of the crop also. That's why agriculture economics is also very, very important subject in paper 1, which carries around 40 marks weightage. So in agriculture economics, we will be discussing about farm management and farm planning. See, before the crop is planted itself, planning and management is very, very important for organization of the firm and to get good profits also. And then budgeting. We'll be discussing about budgeting in terms of profits, in terms of cost incurred, in terms of loss or profit and the net profit we got. All these terms comes under budgeting. And we'll be seeing budgeting in agriculture economics before the plant is sown or before the crop is sown only. We'll be seeing about the budgeting, that net cost incurred and net profits we got. All this comes under budgeting. And then types of farming systems means we'll be seeing about specialized farming, mixed farming, dry farming. All this comes under farming systems. Specialized farming, likewise. And then marketing management and then cooperatives. See, cooperatives is a farming where the land is pooled and where the cooperatives is a voluntary association of farmers. Because if you just do the agriculture farming in 1 acre or 2 acre, it won't be profitable. There will be no economy of scale. And also you can't use some machinery which are big. Like big machines can't be used in the farm or field. It will be a loss to the small or marginal farmer. Here it comes about cooperative farming. It's very advantageous for the small or marginal farmers also. Likewise, the farmers who are growing cotton, like cotton growing farmers, all farmers will come to a place and they'll discuss and they'll do farming and they'll just share the profits also. And also, due to this cooperative farming, the farmers also will get good bargaining power in the market or in the outside, like mandis also, where they're going to sell their produce also. They'll get good profits because they're having huge quantities or bulk quantities and there are many farmers. So there will be a high chance of good bargaining powers and getting good income or good profit from the farm or field. And then contract farming, agriculture price policy. See, agriculture price policy means it is a part of the government side where it ensures a balance between the both producers and then consumers. See, producers means from farmer side, they need MSP. So the government has given MSP, minimum support price, for some of the crops to ensure a good profit or good income for the producers. And as our population, as ours is a huge population, and the poverty levels are also high, here when we see from the consumer side also, we are giving this PDS. Likewise, in agriculture price policy, we'll be seeing about MSP, PDS, all these types of pricing policies. So, next subject, which is last subject in the paper 1, is about the agroecology. Agroecology. See, first of all, I'll explain what is agroecology. It's an interaction between the biotic and abiotic elements or living organisms and non-living organisms, or interaction between themselves also is about agroecology. So, it's very important to check about the biodiversity and to maintain the genetic diversities also. So, we'll be seeing the syllabus. So, first one is ecology. Ecology, as I already explained what is ecology. And then sustainable management. See, sustainable management is nothing but like we just should need to satisfy the current needs. Current needs also should be satisfied with the resources, but should not compromise the future needs of the future population also. So, it is nothing but responsible usage of the resources. Responsible usage of the resources where the current needs should be satisfied and it should not compromise the future needs of the future populations also. It is about sustainable management. And sustainable management term is very, very important, and we will be seeing in many of the subjects like environment also. That's why I explained in depth this term. And then physical and social environment as factors of crop distribution and production. Agroecology, cropping patterns as indicators of environment. So, here we'll be seeing the physical factors, like we'll be understanding like groundnut can be grown in the sandy soils only, mostly. So, it will get a good yield. Likewise, we'll be seeing social factors. Social factors means we'll be seeing that if you are having a good technology and good labor only, you can give or you can produce a good crop. Likewise, the factors which are influencing, we'll be seeing in this syllabus line. And then environmental pollution, nothing but it's a contamination of the natural environment. Environmental pollution is nothing but contamination of the natural environment by burning of fossil fuels maybe, or by deforestation. Likewise, due to the emissions from the vehicles and the industries, effluents, like this. Likewise, all these things. And we'll be seeing different types of pollution also. Soil pollution, air pollution, likewise. And then climate change. Yeah, climate change is nothing but long-term change. I mean, change in the weather patterns like temperature, rainfall, all this comes under climate change. And then international conventions. International conventions means we will be seeing about UNFCCC, United Nations Convention on Framework on Convention on Climate Change. UNFCCC, which has been which had been given in 1992, and then we'll be seeing some other international conventions also, like Kyoto Protocol in 1997, and this Paris Agreement also in 2015. And then global initiatives. See, when it comes to global initiatives, we'll be seeing about IPCC, which will be news. They'll be giving the reports. Intergovernmental panel on climate change, and global climate fund, climate action. All this comes under global initiatives. And others also, Agenda 2030, and also we'll be seeing about SDG goals, which are very, very important. We can write in introduction and conclusions also. Sustainable development goals. And in that also SDG 13 is very, very important, which is related to the climate change or environment. And then greenhouse effect. Next is greenhouse effect. It is nothing but where when the solar rays came to the, like when the solar rays are fallen on the earth's surface, they'll be just trapped by the greenhouse gases like methane or water vapor or carbon dioxide. It just makes the temperature of earth even more, and they won't be reflecting these radiations. The infrared radiation should be reflected from the earth's surface. See, I'll show through a diagram. See, these are the sun rays which are been fallen on the earth's surface. Actually, these should be reflected in the form of infrared. These should be reflected in the form of infrared. But here, the greenhouse gases are being affecting as a blanket to the earth. The gases which are known as nothing but CO2, methane, and then water vapor. Likewise, many gases are there which are known as greenhouse gases. These are entrapping the heat which is being reflected by the earth. The rays which are being fallen on the earth, these are being entrapped, and the earth temperature is being increased. The earth temperature is being increased due to these gases. Temperature is being increased. This is about nothing but greenhouse effect. And then global warming, due to this there is a rise in temperatures where rising of sea levels are being observed, and melting of glaciers is also observed. And then remote sensing. Remote sensing means we will be seeing about drone sensors, hyperspectral imaging. All this comes under remote sensing, satellite sensors, all these. And then geographic information systems. Here we will be seeing about ARCGIS, QGIS, SAGAGIS, and then GRASSGIS. All these types of GIS we will be studying in this part. So guys, let's now see about paper 2. When compared with paper 1, the paper 2 is little bit difficult when it comes to the subjects wise, or also when it comes to the syllabus lines also. Paper 1 will be very generalized. You can write something in the paper 1 answers, or whatever with general knowledge also you can just write the answers. But paper 2 little bit needs the efforts of the subject knowledge or skill. So likewise we will be seeing first about the genetics. Genetics is a basic science which carries around 40 marks. Around 40 marks in paper 2. So we will be seeing the genetics syllabus. So first one is cell structure. See, in cell structure, and we'll be seeing about types of cells also, like prokaryote cells, eukaryote cells. When it comes to without nucleus, we'll be saying the prokaryote cells. And when there is a nucleus present in the cell, we'll be talking about eukaryotic cells. Likewise, we'll be seeing about this cell structure means we'll be seeing about cell membrane, cytoplasm, nucleus, mitochondria, chloroplast, vacuoles. Everything will be dealt in a cell structure. And likewise, cell cycle. Cell cycle means it's a series of events occurred while the cell is growing and dividing. And also, we'll be seeing about the mitotic phase, interphase, mitotic phase. So these two phases we'll be seeing in the cell cycle. And then loss of heredity. See, loss of heredity means here we'll be seeing the modern concepts or fundamental principles or basics which is given by Gregor Mendel, and he had formulated principles like laws of segregation, law of independent assortment, law of dominance. Likewise, he has given 3 principles. So, we'll be discussing about those things. And then chromosome structure. Chromosome structure means chromosome is nothing but it's a thread-like structures which is present in the nucleus. We'll be seeing about those chromosomes also. And then chromosomal aberrations. Chromosomal aberrations is nothing but abnormalities which are present due to the changes in the chromosomes. It will be of 2 types. That is structural aberrations and numerical aberrations. Structural and numerical. Structural means we'll be seeing due to the change in structure of the chromosome, it is there will be a genetic disorders occurred due to the abnormality. That is about structural aberrations. And then numerical aberrations is completely about change in number of the chromosomes. And then linkage and crossover. Linkage means sometimes the genes are present closely located on the chromosome. That is nothing but a linkage. Like for example, we will be seeing Drosophila. In Drosophila melanogaster, we will be seeing that body color and wing shape are linked together. The genes are linked on the same chromosome. That is about linkage. And then crossover. Crossover is nothing but exchange of genetic material. Exchange of genetic material between non-sister chromatids of the homologous chromosomes. See, the terms appears very, very new, or sometimes we also think that the terms are very advanced, but the terms will be very, very simple when we are going to the classes or when we are studying also. And then cytoplasmic inheritance. See, cytoplasmic inheritance means nothing but extranuclear inheritance. And then sex-linked sex influenced and sex limited characters. Here we'll be seeing that about sex linked characters. Sex linked characters, here it is mainly controlled or expressed due to the sex chromosomes. We'll be seeing about hemophilia A, red-green color blindness, all this comes under sex-linked characters. And then when it comes to the sex-influenced characters, we'll be seeing pattern of baldness, which is controlled by autosomal genes. And also in sex-limited characters also, it is controlled by autosomal genes. Like, it is controlled by autosomal genes, but the trait which been expressed, expression of the gene or expression of the trait is controlled by sex chromosomes like estrogen, testosterone. For example, for sex-limited characters, the examples are mammary glands present in mammals. Likewise, beard growth in humans. If we see that in male, when we observe, in males, the beard growth will be more intense when compared to the females. But females also carry those genes. But the expression is limited. That's why it is known as sex-limited characters. And then this is about genetics. And then plant breeding. It is very, very important, plant breeding. So, plant breeding, it carries around 90 marks, which is very, very important in paper 2. So, plant breeding, here we will be seeing modes of reproduction, sexual reproduction, asexual reproduction. Sexual reproduction, we will be seeing sporulation, spore formation, and then fragmentation, all these things, or stem tubers like potato, and all this comes under asexual reproduction. In sexual reproduction, we will be seeing about pollen, stigma, fertilization, seed germination, all those things. And then selfing and crossing techniques. So, selfing means mostly the flower of the same plant, the pollen will be fallen into the same flower of the same plant. When we will be seeing about crossing means the flower of one plant, the pollen of the flower of one plant will be fallen the stigma of another flower of another plant. It is about crossing. And then it is about cross-pollination. And then we'll be seeing about centers of origin. See, centers of origin means we'll be seeing about Wabilo's concept of origin, where these geographic regions, we'll be seeing about the geographic regions where the crop is been first domesticated by the humans. For example, in China, rice has been cultivated. In India, sugarcane has been cultivated. And then law of homologous series, and then molecular markers, all these things, nothing but it's a identifiable DNA sequences where the genetic variations or genetic differences will be easily identified. That is about molecular markers. And then pure line selection. Pure line selection means nothing but which is mostly observed in homozygous condition, and where it is derived from the single self pollinated plants or a single self pollinated plant. And then pedigree. Pedigree means where the lineage of the ancestors or records had been maintained. So, lineage or ancestral records or details will be maintained in a form. That is about pedigree. And then mass selection means actually this pedigree is mostly done in self-pollinated plants. But mass selection means we'll be doing both in a self-pollinated plants and cross-pollinated plants. And then in this mass selection, there will be a selection of most number of superior plants. That is about mass selection. And then recurrent selection means it is repeatedly selecting and crossing over the generations to obtain a superior offspring. These are different types of breeding methods, nothing but. And then mutations is nothing but sudden heritable change, as you know. And then heritability, and then sterility, heritability, and then sterility. Yeah, so here when it comes to the inability to produce the functional gametes, both pollen, it is known as about sterility, and also we'll be seeing about genetic male sterility, cytoplasmic male sterility, CGMS, GMS, CMS, all this comes under sterility. And then incompatibility. When it comes to incompatibility, inability of the pollen to fertilize the ovule is nothing but incompatibility. And then heterosis is nothing but hybrid vigor, where the offspring will be superior in qualities when compared to its parents. And then next subject is plant protection. So in plant protection, we'll be seeing both two subjects, that is entomology, which carries around 20 marks, and plant pathology, which carries about 10 marks. So in plant protection, we'll be seeing that integrated pest and disease management. So integrated pest management means we'll be seeing what are the chemical methods of control, biological methods of control, and physical methods of control. Likewise, if we see that chemical control, we will be seeing that usage of imidacloprid. And if we go to cultural method, we will be seeing that crop rotation should be done properly. Likewise, crop rotation. And then physical method means hand picking of insects. Likewise, all comes under integrated pest management. And then when it comes to disease management, integrated disease management means we'll be using the chemicals like thiram, and also we'll be using this trichoderma species. Trichoderma species also will be used for the integrated disease management. And then biological control of pests and diseases. So trichogramma in the pest, like trichogramma is an egg parasitoid which is used for control of the pest. Likewise, biological agents are also present. And then plant quarantine measures means phytosanitary measures and regulations also being used. And then pesticides, their formulation. So pesticides means usage of active ingredient. So active ingredients also will be used in many different forms. Like it may be dust, wettable powders, granules, likewise. And then microbial toxins. Microbial toxins means usage of toxic substances by microorganisms like bacteria, fungi, which is very harmful for the both plants and animals and humans also. And then seed science which carries about 60 marks, which is very, very important. And in seed science, we'll be seeing about seed production, processing technologies, and seed certification, and different kinds of seed and seed production. Here we'll be seeing about nucleus seed, breeder seed. Likewise, there will be a certified seeds, and also we'll be seeing about national seed certification agencies. Different types of seed certification agencies also will be seeing. And then plant physiology. So here plant physiology. In plant physiology, it carries around 70 marks. Here the diagrams is very, very important. In this subject, you have to draw a little bit diagrams also. So in plant physiology, when it comes, we have to discuss about the soil-water plant relationship. Soil-water plant relationship means here we will be discussing about how the water is used by the soil to give to the plant for the metabolic process also. Likewise, this interaction between these three, water, soil, water, plant relationship is nothing but we will see that how the metabolism works in the plants between these three, soil, water and plant. And then photosynthesis, since childhood we are studying what is photosynthesis means nothing but conversion of light energy like carbon dioxide and water, CO2 plus H2O plus usage of light energy to convert the light energy into the C6, H12O6, nothing but glucose. So likewise we will be seeing the concepts also in photosynthesis like C3, C4 CAM mechanisms. C3 means Kelvin cycle. We will be seeing the cycles of these things also. C3 means Kelvin cycle, C4 means Hatch and Slack cycle, and then CAM, crassulacean acid metabolism mechanisms. These are mainly differentiated or classified based on the first stable product formed. For example, in C3, we will be seeing that 3-PGA is formed as the first stable product, and it's a 3-carbon compound. And when it comes to C4, the first stable product is a 4-carbon compound, and we will be seeing about oxaloacetate. And when it comes to CAM mechanism, crassulacean acid metabolism mechanism, here the compound form is a 4-carbon compound, and a malate compound is formed. And then aerobic and anaerobic respiration means aerobic respiration, you know that in the name itself you are understanding that aerobic respiration means it should be done in the presence of oxygen. Like in mitochondria, it will be done. The stages will be glycolysis, all these things. And in anaerobic respiration, we will be seeing that there will be an absence of oxygen, and it will be done in cytoplasm, and we will be seeing the stages of glycolysis and fermentation. All these steps will be seeing. And then growth and development. We know that growth means actually the irreversible increase in the size, volume, or a number of the cell or differentiation. And growth is in quantitative terms and development is in qualitative terms. Development is nothing but it's a progressive change in the life of a plant cycle, life cycle from the germination to senescence. So next, photoperiodism. Photoperiodism is length of growing period, physiological reaction to the length of growing period to the both day and night is nothing but photoperiodism. And then vernalization. Vernalization is nothing but induction or initiation of flowering by exposing to low temperatures is nothing but vernalization. We can see the examples of wheat, barley, sugar beet for vernalization. And then dormancy. Dormancy is nothing but temporary suspension of a metabolic activity. Even it is viable, even the environment is favorable for it. It is about dormancy, where there will be a temporary suspension of the metabolism or metabolic activity. Temporarily it will be dormant. When there will be at optimum atmosphere or environmental conditions, or when it will be the optimum for survival only, they will just resume the condition. It is about dormancy. And then stress physiology. Drought. Drought is nothing but insufficient inavailability of the water. And then when it comes to salt stress, like Na plus and Cl minus, NaCl, Na plus and Cl minus ions, where the excess of Na plus and Cl minus ions leads to salt stress. And then when it comes to water stress, it is both like inefficient or excess. Excess means it comes under waterlogging. So both inefficient and excess conditions, excess means we will be discussing about waterlogging. Both these conditions are dealt in water stress. And the next one is horticulture, which carries around 50 marks. So you have to little bit concentrate on horticulture. It's very, very important to answer every question of the paper in horticulture, of every question in the horticulture. So then package of practices of major horticulture crops. So you have to see like papaya, mango, and then import some of the important crops: spinach, amaranthus, coriander, cumin, and then fruits, vegetables like tomato, brinjal. So all this you have to concentrate. And also when it comes to plantation crops like tea, coffee, rubber, cocoa, cashew, all these are important. And then post-harvest technology. Post-harvest technology means mainly it is used to enhance the shelf life and decrease the losses and to get the good profits also. And value addition of fruits and vegetables. Value addition of fruits and vegetables means we'll be discussing about ketchups, pickle making, sauce, jellies, jams, all this comes under value addition of fruits and vegetables. And then biotechnology and miscellaneous topics. Actually biotechnology is just carrying 10 marks or 0 actually, but miscellaneous questions are carrying high weightage nowadays. So it is about biotechnology. So in biotechnology in crop improvement, so will be used in the for crop production, like we'll be using the BT cotton, transgenic crops, BT cotton, for biofortification purpose, to enhance the nutrient value. For example, golden rice, where the vitamin A levels are very high. So likewise we'll be seeing CRISPR-Cas9. Likewise we'll be seeing many types of biotechnology related crops where there is a lot of advantage in terms of nutritional or crop production or other aspects also. And then somatic hybridization. Somatic hybridization means where conventional hybridization is not possible, there we will be using somatic hybridization, where fusion of two cells are being done, where the cell walls are not present, the fusion of two cells is being done, and then hybrid plant is being grown. Like for example, we will be seeing about potato plus tomato is nothing but pomato. It is the best example for somatic hybridization. And then this general awareness, here the questions are being asked more nowadays. Actually, from this general awareness means the syllabus lines which are present, you just need to you just take the sources from the books or from the NG Ranga or PJTSU materials or TNAU, Tamil Nadu Agriculture University materials also. You can take the notes from these from which the syllabus lines are present. So from these syllabus lines, you can make a little bit short notes. So this area's relevance is very, very important nowadays. Since 3 to 4 years, the questions are more from general awareness area. You can use the Google and all other media, I mean internet medias also, for the mediums also for getting these notes. This is about general awareness syllabus lines. Yeah. So books, these are the famous and important books you can follow if you are feeling void in your preparation. Like if you are feeling that vacuum, or if you feeling that you have to read some more books for the preparation, you can follow these books: Agronomy, Lamanda Reddy, and Soil Science, D.K. Das, ISSS, Indian Society of Soil Science, Weed Science, O.P. Gupta, Extension, Advi Reddy, and then Economics, Subba Reddy, Genetics, Fundan Singh, Plant Breeding, B.D. Singh, Entomology, D.S. Reddy, Pathology, Agrios, and then Physiology, Pandey and Sinha, Seed Science, R.C. Agarwal, Horticulture, Srivatsava, and then Handbook of ICAR, and then handbook, you can use this for any subjects also, like TNA material, Angro material, yeah, AK Vyas, and also you can use this PJTSAU materials also, because you can make notes from these books. And then these are the previous questions. See, these are mostly repeated. I just bought this to show you. That's it. All these are repeated questions. You can see these are the sample questions in all subjects. I kept from all subjects. So these are the questions which are been asked in previously. So this is the paper of 2024, the agriculture optional paper which has been asked in the CSC mains examination of 2024. This is the optional paper 1. It's the weightage I wrote on the paper itself, which is almost around whatever the weightage I said. I wrote the subject specific question also, like the question which is asked from which subject also. So this is paper 2 of CSC mains examination 2024, and this is the weightage I have written. And these are the questions which have been asked from the subjects. Yeah, thank you. If you like the video, just like and share to your friends also if you feel that they will be benefited. And also just check these things and be prepared for the examination of CSC mains 2026 or 2027 also. Yeah, thank you. This is Shrija.